As promised, I am back with more brutally honest, overly detailed reviews on all of the new hyped up drugstore launches sooner than normal because the drugstore is pumping out new launches like crazy these days. So last month we covered several new sunscreens like from Bioma and Versed, the e.l.f. skin tint, Maybelline primers, blurred matte lips like Covergirl and NYX, the e.l.f. lip balms, and more. So if you're hoping to see reviews on those new launches, I already did that for you and that video will be listed below. Today, we have 22 new products to get through, including the Milani Blurring Primer, the L'Oreal Foundation Concealer, lip stains from ColourPop, CoverGirl, and e.l.f., EOS Pistachio, and as always, I have tons of footage to share with you like swatches, application, and wear tests. So let's dive into it. First up is the Milani Conceal and Perfect Blur Out Smoothing Primer, which is said to instantly blur and moisturize while delivering a refreshing, cooling sensation. The ingredients that they highlight include 5% glycerin, 3% niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, blue algae, pear extract, arnica extract, and blue chamomile extract. And there are a handful of other plant/floral extracts in this, but there's no added fragrance or essential oils, and I mean, I can maybe smell like the tiniest bit of something when I sniff it, but I never noticed any scent when I was applying it. The texture of this is so unique that I honestly have a hard time describing it. I don't know that I've tried anything that feels exactly like this before. It kind of looks like it's gonna feel like a silicone-y Play-Doh or something, so I was surprised by how soft and silky this felt when I first touched and applied it. Milani compares the texture of this to whipped souffle, and now that I'm saying that, I realize I have no idea what souffle feels like, but it's like the whipped, silkier, more velvety version of a classic OG silicone primer. It's definitely elevated. It feels more luxurious than that. It's very nice. But it is something that kind of feels a bit thick when you pick it up at first. So because of that and the really unique texture, I was kind of worried that it wouldn't be the most seamless to blend and it would end up kind of pilling. But it actually has great glide across my skin as I'm blending it in, and makeup applies on top of it really nicely without issue too. When I first apply this, it does feel refreshing and have that cooling sensation that they described, but it does cause irritation for me, so it ends up just stinging and burning a bit. That does eventually fade, so it's not something that lasts the entire time I have it on, but I have noticed that on days when I wear this, when I remove makeup and start applying my nighttime skincare, those skincare products really sting and burn for me, which is not something that I normally experience when I am not wearing this primer. But let's talk about the actual look, finish, and performance of this before I jump back to my final thoughts on that. So after testing this a few times by itself and not really feeling like I was seeing much of a difference in terms of smoothing or blurring, I decided to do a split face test. And you guys will have to let me know if you see a difference between the two sides, but I just didn't feel like I did. And I actually saw editor Emily that day and asked her, like, do you see a difference in these two sides? She did not. I do like how my makeup wears with this. I think by end of day, it still looks really good. So that's probably the biggest benefit that I get from it. But I have other primers that do that for me that don't irritate my skin. So that combined with the fact that I don't really see any of the smoothing or blurring like it claims makes this an unfortunate pass for me, which I'm really sad about because I know so many people love it and seem to get all of those benefits without the irritation. So I'm jealous if you're one of those people. Next up is the L'Oreal Skin Ink Foundation Concealer, which is supposed to even like a foundation but cover like a concealer in a self-setting soft matte finish that doesn't cake and doesn't crease, plus is waterproof, sweat-proof, and humidity proof. This comes in 22 shades and I was sent the shades 20 neutral and 80 warm, neither of which work for me by themselves, but I was able to mix them together to get a better color match. This has a very strange texture for a concealer, kind of similar to what I was saying about Milani. I don't know that I've ever tried another concealer that feels exactly like this because it's thin, but very slippy to the point of feeling greasy. It claims to be self-setting, and I agree that it sets really quickly, but that definitely creates some issues with the blending process for me. It immediately starts to cling and settle and go patchy in some areas, regardless of what I'm using to apply it. So I've tried to apply this with my fingers, with a brush, with a damp beauty sponge. The same thing seems to happen every time. And I was determined to make this work for me because of how many people I saw raving about it. So I tried it with different foundations, different primers, different sunscreens, but I just could not get it to not have that issue for me while applying. This definitely doesn't completely cover dark circles for me. So I would say it's more medium coverage with a true matte finish that I don't think looks skin-like at all. I do think that it looks a little bit dry on me, to the point where I was actually worried to set this with powder. Sorry if you guys see my hair moving throughout this video. I have a tiny critter on my lap. You really need to take a nap, honey. It's definitely nap time for you. I'm trying to use this so we don't chew on mommy hair. Oh, I was scared to set this with powder because I was like, with the clinging and the patchiness and then the dry look, I feel like powder's gonna be a mess on this, but somehow the Amicolay Skin Melt Powder saved how this looked. So this strangely looks better after setting it with powder for me, and the one thing that I will give it credit for is wear. By the end of the day, it pretty much looks the exact same as when I initially applied it. But because I just don't enjoy using it at all, it's unfortunately a no for me too. Next up, we have some complexion sticks from Versed. So we have their bronzer, blush, and highlight. The bronzer is called the Warm Dimension Bronzer Stick and is supposed to add natural warmth and glow without looking patchy or dry. It's made to blend right in and be layered up to build up the intensity wherever you want. It's only available in 3 shades, and I picked up the lightest of those 3, which is called August and said to be a light/medium. I wouldn't categorize this as a light brown. I would say it's definitely a true mid or medium warm toned brown that is too dark for my complexion personally, but because it's not super pigmented, it didn't look quite as intense or harsh as I was expecting. And I would say it has a balm to powder texture that is thinner and lighter, so it doesn't feel overly wet or creamy or heavy. It has just enough slip to make it easy to apply and blend. The pigment is buildable from sheer to light/medium maybe. Like sheer to light for sure, maybe a little bit more than that, but definitely not something that's going to be for you if you like a lot of pigment in a bronzer stick. And it's supposed to have a luminous finish, but I would say it's more of like a subtle glow. There's no highlightery effect or anything like that. And I didn't really notice this in person when I had it on, but looking back at the footage closely and critically, I don't think that it looks completely seamless. It's not fully patchy. It's just not like seamlessly even, you know? And I feel like that just kind of continued to get a little bit worse with wear. It's certainly not the worst I've ever seen in a cream bronzer, but I do notice a bit more patchiness. It's definitely faded quite a bit from my forehead. So overall, I feel like this one is just a pass for me. 3 passes so far. Uh-oh. Next is the Versed Shade Swipe Blush Stick, which is supposed to be a multi-use buildable cream blush that melts into cheeks with a flexible, lightweight, easy to layer formula. So you can go for a soft wash of color or build it up for a more pigmented look. This is available in 5 shades and they sent me 2 of them. The first is called Deco, which is kind of like a bright bubblegum pink. And the second, which is my personal favorite of the 2, is Bloom. This is more like a mid-toned rosy mauve. The texture of this is extremely similar to the bronzer, if not identical. I did look at the ingredients list and they look to be essentially the same, but with like a few things switched around, which could just be because of the pigment. Sometimes I'll literally sit and feel things at the exact same time to see if I can tell a difference. I'm like, if anything, the blush might feel just like a little bit creamier and juicier to me, but I don't know. I'm like, even when you swatch these side by side, yeah, they look identical. They basically feel like the same thing. So I feel like I get that same easy to use, easy blend experience with the blush as well. Same levels of pigmentation, but this I would say has more of like a dewy, juicy skin finish on me. And I think that's probably because of the fact that I'm packing a bit more on in like a central area than I was with the bronzer, where I not only was blending that out more to just try to like spread it over a larger area of my face, but also because the color was just too dark. And if I had built that up more, it would not look good. So because this was something that I didn't feel the need to sheer out, I did want to see like, can I build this back up on top of powder after I've set it? Does that mess up my makeup underneath? And no, it doesn't. It works really well that way too, and definitely brings some life back to the finish that the powder just naturally kind of not takes away, but like mattifies a little bit more. And this one actually seemed to hold up really nicely on me without going patchy. So I think this is a formula that just works better built up a bit more. And if it's something that you're trying to really sheer out, you may end up with it going patchier like the bronzer did on me. But that's just my hypothesis. Maybe there is something different about this blush formula that allows it to wear better, but I think it's because of my hypothesis. And the last of the 3 complexion sticks from Versed is their High Points Illuminating Stick. This is meant to instantly make your skin more luminous, feel like nothing, and layer well over other products with a lit from within glow that is never shimmery or sparkly. It comes in 3 shades, and I have the shade Baroque, which is a silver champagne. The texture of this, again, feels pretty much the exact same as the bronzer. When I apply this on top of makeup with my finger, it doesn't seem to disrupt or break down the makeup that I have underneath. The finish is quite frosty and definitely pops on the cheeks. I feel like I kept noticing it in the mirror when I was filming that day. Like, dang, this is actually quite a bit more, not vibrant in terms of color, but just in terms of the luminance than I was expecting. What I was not expecting and what kind of surprised me was how glittery it looked up close on camera. Like, again, when I was looking back at the footage, I was like, oh, that does not look the best. I actually thought the effect was fun in person, but by end of day, I do feel like this kind of mostly faded to just look glittery on the cheeks, which does make this a pass for me because of the fact that I have another drugstore highlight stick that I think is just the best. It lasts beautifully all day long. It's the L'Oreal Lumi Lake Glass Stick. That one is not glittery at all. It literally is like a sheer, juicy, just delicious skin-like highlight. So if you are looking for a drugstore highlight stick, I would go for that one over this. Moving on from sticks, we have several new lip/cheek stains that have launched. So let's start off with the one that I feel like was the most hyped up, the e.l.f. Sheer For It Blush Tints. These are supposed to be a buildable multi-use blush tint with a hydrating watery texture for sheer long-lasting stain. They launched this in 5 shades and I decided to pick up 2 of them. The first is Left On Red, which I would describe as a sheer cool-toned blushy red. And I'm guessing is probably meant to be their Benetint dupe, or at least the closest shade that they have to that. But it's definitely not exactly the same as that. Compared to Benefit, I would say that this one is cooler, softer, and less red. And the second shade I picked up is called Pink Positive, which is a sheer bright poppy pink that is warmer than Left On Red. And unlike Benetint, which if you have tried has like a floral chemical taste that is really gross, these do not smell or taste like anything. I would describe the texture as a very thin, watery serum that has a bit of a learning curve if you are using it as a blush. When I first tried this out, I used the application technique that they showed on their website where they do like one dot at a time spaced out and then blending that out with a brush, but doing that on top of foundation was a patchy mess for me. Because this sets and stains pretty quickly, one small dot really just doesn't give you enough spread to work with, so it makes it really difficult to blend evenly. So I tried this again by adding more product in one central area and blending that out first before adding product to the rest of my cheek where I want to add even more color, and that worked way better. But even still, I do just have to be careful with this because I've noticed that if I blend a little bit too much, it starts to go patchy and break down the foundation that I have underneath it. So I would say it's just something you definitely have to work with a bit to figure out how it works best for you on your skin with the complexion products that you're using, but you can get it to work and look pretty for sure. I would consider this to be sheer with a natural finish because while you can build up the color a little bit, you can still very much still see your skin through it. And I do feel like the color held up well on my cheeks. It's not the type of stain that like sets and stains so intensely that it's difficult to remove and like literally doesn't budge at all while you're wearing it. But overall, in comparing the before to the after footage, I think it still looks good. I probably wouldn't keep this if it was just something that was meant to be used as a blush because I feel like I do like just a little bit more pigment in a blush than that, but as a lip stain, unlike Benetint, I don't have issues applying this and making the pigment look even. That was definitely my biggest issue aside from the taste. But this has enough spread to it that you can work with it while it's setting to get really nice even pigment. Once it sets, it does feel completely dry. Like there's zero moisturizing properties to this at all. So I don't agree with what they say that this delivers a surge of hydration to my lips. Certainly not, but I think it looks gorgeous. At least the color Left On Red, that is definitely my personal favorite. I feel like something about that is just the most beautiful, kind of natural, rosy looking flush that is so, so pretty. As somebody who has tested out an absurd number of lip stains, I will say that I don't think that this stains as intensely as others that I've tried. Like it's definitely not budge proof and gonna hold up completely the same after eating a meal. It does break down a bit after that. It doesn't look the exact same in terms of level of pigment all day long, but I still get really good wear with it. So if the main thing you're looking for in a lip stain is just budge-proof pigment, then this will probably not be for you. But if you don't have an issue reapplying, let's say like once every 6 hours or so, then I think that this is so, so beautiful. Moving on, we have the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Jelly Water Tints. These are supposed to be a cushiony and hydrating tint for lasting soft focus color with a lightweight jelly texture infused with refreshing water gel technology. I was sent all 6 of the shades that are supposed to have either a black cherry or raspberry scent. I'm not too sure that I can tell a difference between those two smells. They all just smell light and fruity to me without being overly artificial, and they don't taste like anything. So for once, I actually quite like it. The first shade is Jelly Nude, which is a warm nude pink. The second is Watermelon Splash, which is a bright cool pink. The third is Raspberry Drops, which is a true fuchsia. The fourth is Cherry Burst, which is a pinky red. The fifth is Mulberry Melts, which is a warm rusty brown red. And the sixth is Berry Wiggle, which is a grape purple. Compared to e.l.f., I would say that the texture of these is more of a watery gel cream than a watery serum. They're definitely a little bit thicker, have a little bit more cush. And I think that they're a little bit easier to work with on the cheeks than e.l.f. because I just seem to get a bit more spread with them when I'm initially blending, so they're more forgiving for me. But I still can run into the issue of this going patchy if I accidentally overblend, so just something to be aware of when using stains like this on the cheek in general. I don't think I had really played around with many, if any, lip cheek stains before like this on my cheeks, so it's been a learning curve for me for sure. Overall, I feel like these give a similar effect on the cheeks to e.l.f. because I can still see my skin through them. They also have a natural finish, but they have a bit more color payoff, so I feel like overall it just looks a little bit punchier. And I'd say I get the same performance in terms of wear as e.l.f., where it holds up well but doesn't stain so hard that I can't get it off my cheeks. I have a bit of a harder time getting this one to look even at like more of a sheer level of pigment. I have tried to just apply a little bit and dab that on with my finger, but that kind of looks patchy. So what I actually feel gives me best results is to apply this with like the full level of pigment and then wipe it off with a towel. But even still, it's not completely even. So I feel like this is just a lip stain that is meant to be worn a bit more pigmented than something like e.l.f. In terms of texture, this feels really comfy and hydrating when you first apply it, and it does look like it's going to have that glossy finish that they show on their website, but I feel like that's really only when it's wet before it dries down. Once it does dry down, it transforms into more of a true matte feel and finish, so that comfiness and glossiness don't last for me. In addition to this being more pigmented than e.l.f., I would say that the staining power seems to be more intense on my lips as well. So it lasts super long, which I was really impressed by, and overall I would say that CoverGirl is probably going to be best for you if you're looking for a brighter, bolder stain that lasts all day, whereas e.l.f. is going to be for you if you want something that's a little bit more sheer and natural looking. Or maybe ColourPop, because we have one more stain to review. This is just a lip stain, unlike CoverGirl and e.l.f., which were both lip and cheek. This is called the ColourPop HydraPop lip stain. It's supposed to be a hydrating water-based lip stain that goes on glossy and leaves behind a long-lasting stain without drying out your pout. It's available in 7 shades, and let me double check, I don't remember. Yeah, no smell or taste. The first shade is Baby Fox, which is a warm beige nude. The second is Mantra, which swatches like a cool toned pink at first, but I feel like it actually kind of turns warmer as it sets. Juice Box is a berry pink. A Little Dramatic is a fuchsia pink. 90s Babe is a plummy brown. Fruit Punch is a true red, and Blueberry Marg is a deep blackberry. This has a wet, creamy, whipped texture that is more comparable to CoverGirl than e.l.f., but it's a little bit thicker and less watery, which I think makes it even comfier. I will say that I'm not in love with the doe foot. I feel like it's just like too skinny and stiff, so I don't get the nice like even swipes that I do with a larger doe foot, but I'll survive. When I just apply this without blotting it, it's very pigmented and has a moderately glossy finish. After blotting, it transforms into having light to medium levels of pigment with a slight glow to the finish, which I think is pretty. And while this is comfortable enough for me to wear on its own before I blot it out, it's definitely not after it. I mean, it's just kind of that classic thinner, drier lip stain feel, but maybe with a tiny bit of tack. So it's definitely something that will make my lips feel dry if I don't put a balm on top of it, which is exactly what I'd say about CoverGirl and e.l.f. and so many other lip stains I've tried, which is not a deal breaker for me at all. That's something I do all the time. This one doesn't last as long as CoverGirl, and I feel like it fades a little bit patchier than e.l.f. So while I think that this is pretty when I first apply it and for several hours, it's something that with wear I just don't love the look of, which is why I feel like these are kind of just a pass for me because they don't do anything special for me that my other favorite lip stains and tints do. I feel like once you dive into the world of Korean beauty lip stains and lip tints, your standards are just so much higher that it's like difficult for US products like this to compete. Next, we have the Versed Tinted Lip Serum, which is supposed to be a serum with a sheer tint and soft glossy shine. The ingredient highlighted in these is shea butter, and they launched in 5 different shades. The 2 that I was sent include Bake, which is a warm beige, and Gem, which is a rich cherry. But both of these I would say have sheer to medium levels of pigment where you can do one swipe and they'll be more on the sheer side or built up quite a bit if you'd like. I really enjoy how these feel when I first apply them. them. They're rich, they're creamy, they're buttery, they're not too thin, not too thick. But these do start to have that minty cooling sensation on me, which I was confused about at first because these don't smell like mint, they don't taste like mint, but it turns out they do have a menthol derivative in them called menthoxypropanediol. So that has to be what is giving me that kind of sensation, since I seem to just have like the world's most sensitive lips. It's not the most intense, but it does seem to kind of last the entire time I'm wearing it, or like almost the entire time. I think they look really pretty though. They can go from sheeny to perfectly glossy depending on how much you want to layer these up, and they wear well. They're obviously not like super long lasting. The one thing I noticed about them is that I felt like they were kind of getting that, you know, sometimes when you wear thicker lip products and they kind of just like gather and bunch in the center of your lips. I thought that that was happening with these because it kind of felt like that, but when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see that at all. But again, I'm just like overly nitpicky about everything I review. So overall, I would say that these continue to look nice with wear. They continue to feel comfy with wear, but I don't think I'm going to keep either of these. I feel like this is one of those products that I'm like, it's pretty for sure, but when I think about the collection of lip products that I have, is there anything that I would want to replace with these? And the answer to that is no. I have 2 lip oils that I actually almost included in my lip oil showdown, but I got to a point where I was like, I have to cut this off somewhere or this video will literally never end. So I decided to just save these for a new at the drugstore video instead, since they are both new drugstore lip oils. So the first is the Wet n Wild lip oil, which is supposed to be uber nourishing, that hydrates for mirror-like shine and stunning pops of color. The ingredient highlights in this are camellia seed oil, avocado oil, bitter cherry seed oil, marula oil, blueberry seed oil, soybean oil, sunflower seed oil, and ginger root oil. This is available in 11 different shades, which is actually a lot for a drugstore lip oil, and I picked up the shade Rose Quartz, which I would describe as a sheer bright fuchsia that actually stains my lips a bit. It's definitely not to the level of any of the lip stains that we just reviewed, but something that I noticed for sure, like every time I had this on a few hours later, I was like, why are my lips still bright pink? Oh, she stains. This has a, oh my gosh, it smells yummy. It's like a subtly sweet scent that I feel like is like a little bit vanilla, a little bit mint. I actually like it. It does burn on my lips a little bit, but this is not one that lasts the entire time that I wear it. The texture of this is like a little bit jelly-like and a little bit gel-like. There's elements of both of that in this. I feel like I'm going insane when I say things like that, but I've tried so many lip oils that I'm like, again, there's elements of both, but it's lightweight, it's soft, it's smooth, it's a little bit tacky, and it's something that can be built up to feel moderately thick and cushy. This has that wet diamondy shine that fills in the look of lines, so I think it looks really nice if you like that juicier pout. But it does kind of start to get gummy with wear. I would say that it lasts for an average amount of time and is probably average to below average for how moisturizing it is. My lips do feel kind of dry after I have this on, so it's one of those that I would categorize as being very cute for a gloss, but not something that's like the most amazing for a lip treatment. The second is the Physicians Formula Diamond Lip Oil, which is supposed to be an ultra nourishing lip oil serum hybrid with mirror-like shine. No ingredients really to highlight here. There are 2 shades, and I have the shade Light Pink, which is a very sheer light pink. I honestly don't really notice any color payoff with this, and I've never really noticed a smell or taste when I apply this. What does this smell like? I mean, there's maybe the teeniest bit of a sweet scent, but again, nothing noticeable as I'm actually using. I don't agree that this feels like a lip serum at all. I would say it's one that I would also describe as feeling both kind of a little bit like a jelly and also like a gel. But compared to Wet n Wild, I would say that this one feels lighter and less tacky on the lips while also just feeling more slick. And I can also build this up to feel moderately thick and cushy, but I do think I prefer the way that Wet n Wild feels. Just like that slightly thicker texture is something I definitely gravitate towards. This has that super plump, juicy looking shine with some line smoothing action, and I think it lasts a little bit longer than Wet n Wild for me, but there's not much of a difference. My lips also feel kind of dry after using it, so another that I think makes for a really cute gloss, but not necessarily a lip treatment. Maybelline launched new shades in their Lifter Gloss that I bought because I thought that they were going to smell like their names, Honey and Toffee. but they do not. They have the same smell that the rest of the lifter glosses do, which, to be fair, is delicious. This to me smells like the caramel on caramel apples. Like, oh, I love that smell. But in saying that, it's not too intense, so I'm okay with the fact that they don't smell like their name because I think it's super good. But I'll review nonetheless in case you are curious about either of these 2 new shades. So they did drop 5 new shades. I picked up Toffee, which is a warm beige with sheer to light pigment, and Honey, which is a very sheer yellow. Honey just kind of gives my lips a little bit of a yellow hue, which I think looks a bit weird on me, but I'm sure if you had a warmer skin tone, a deeper skin tone, it would look prettier. And if you have never tried the lifter glosses before, I would say that they have a soft, balmy texture that is moderately thick, but not heavy at all. They do actually feel quite light on the lips compared to a lot of other lip products that I enjoy. And they have a really pretty glossy finish that's not overly wet. So if that like wet, diamondy, juicy look that I was just talking about isn't for you, you'd probably really like these. So if you're looking for warmer, beigeier browns and caramels from this lifter gloss range, then definitely check out the new shades that they dropped. Several of them were pretty deep as well, but I do prefer the shades that I already have in the lifter gloss collection over these. Next up, we have a lip launch that I was so excited about, highly anticipating, and was ready to purchase, but it arrived on my doorstep in PR. It's the Naturium Phyto Glow Lip Balm with SPF 45. It says, our intensely nourishing lip balm provides broad spectrum UVA, UVB protection with a sweet mint flavor that helps to minimize sunscreen filter taste. Keep that in the back of your head. This one does not have the new doe foot applicator that they launched with the shimmer collection. I've never had a problem with this. I totally understand why people think it's kind of difficult to squeeze out, but it doesn't bother me because I love the formula so much. The sunscreen filters in this are all chemical. They include avobenzone, homosalate, and octisalate, and the inactive ingredient highlights are the exact same as their non-SPF lip balm. So shea butter, squalane, kapachi seed butter, and castor oil. They launched this with 4 sheer tinted shades and 1 untinted. So Paradise is a coral pink, Getaway is a slightly pink nude, Oasis is a warm red, and Escape is a warmer, kind of more brown-based mulberry. Because these have SPF added, I was worried that that was really going to alter the lip balm formula that I love so much, but it really didn't. They still have that amazing thick, cushy feel and shiny wet finish. And at first, these do have a pretty strong but sweet mint scent. However, the chemical sunscreen taste does start to come through pretty quickly. It's not as intense as like the Naked Sundays lip sunscreen that I just reviewed in my last new at the drugstore, but it's enough for me to notice it for sure. So I feel like this is going to really just be up to personal preference depending on your level of tolerance for that chemical sunscreen taste, because if you can't deal with it at all, then this is going to be a skip for you. But if you are okay with it, as long as it's not something that's like overly intense and you really love the Naturium lip balm formula, then this may be right up your alley. I'll be honest, there's not much that ColourPop does. Oh god, that's gonna spill. Should I stack it on here? Okay, we're gonna stack these lip masks on a Sol de Janeiro Boom Boom Creme because we're gonna get to this in a second. There's not a lot ColourPop does these days that really catches my eye, but I have to say that this is like the cutest little drop ever. So they launched a Fresh Kiss collection, which is both lip scrubs and lip masks. And for the lip scrubs, they come in 3 flavors, which are vanilla cake, strawberry milk, and chocolate milkshake. The lip mask comes in all of those flavors as well, in addition to 3 more, which are orange vanilla, pistachio what? Pistachio gelato? Oh no. And jelly donut. And you guys know I am so picky about scents and smells and tastes and everything in lip products. I have to give them credit. These are so good. They're perfectly sweet without anything like artificial or plasticky going on. They're definitely strong, but not too intense, and really do match their scent descriptions for the most part. Like, this is straight up fudgy chocolate milkshake. I think the only one that maybe doesn't for me is strawberry milk. I get more like strawberry candy from this. You know what this kind of reminds me of? Sour Punch straws, but it smells good. My personal favorites, you're gonna be shocked I know, are vanilla cake. Oh my gosh. Chocolate milkshake and pistachio gelato. Oh my gosh, yum. Let's quickly talk about the lip scrub and then we'll dive into the lip mask. So the ingredient highlights in this include sucrose, which are gonna be the sugar crystals that give you that scrub, sweet almond oil, cupachu butter, shea butter, and vitamin E. What I really enjoy about these is that unlike a lot of other lip scrubs I've tried, they don't just feel like super dry, scratchy sugar crystals. I mean, you've obviously got like the scratchy sugarness in there, but it's more like a scrub put into a balm. They just have have this like thick softness to them in addition to that scratchiness, which I like. And they exfoliated really nicely, but then again, I'm not sure how they couldn't when they're literally scraping dead skin off my lips. Ingredient highlights in the lip masks include shea butter, cloudberry seed oil, and raspberry seed oil. And the texture of these, they're thick, they're melty, they're creamy, they're balmy, all at the same time. And while they're definitely not an exact dupe for the Laneige lip masks, I actually feel like they're pretty comparable. Laneige is maybe just a little bit thicker and creamier and has a bit of a glossier finish, but overall the experience is pretty similar. These ones do have a little hint of whatever color the mask is, but they're very, very sheer, so it's not something where I'm like, oh my god, my lips are green with this, I can't use it. And in addition to these feeling really nice and smelling amazing, these last well on me and end up leaving my lips feeling very nourished, so these are a win for me and really surprised me. I just wasn't really expecting much. I think especially because I did recently test out, well, I guess it wasn't that recent, it was months ago now, but in one of my new at the drugstore videos, I tested out the ColourPop lip balms that are supposed to kind of be Summer Fridays dupes. Those were just like fine to me, nothing super amazing. I really enjoy these. I have 3 new mascaras to review. The first is the Covergirl Lash Blast Bond Mascara. You know, my ears perked up when I saw Bond. So this claims to be infused with a bonding complex that visibly improves lash quality while delivering up to 5 times volume in one coat. At first, when I saw that they say it's infused with a bonding complex that creates a protective barrier around the lashes, I was like, okay, so just like kind of a film forming thing, but in looking into it further, this contains a peptide named acetyl tetrapeptide 3, which is claimed to help to reinforce the hair root, promote hair growth, and restore hair volume, according to the manufacturer, of course, take it with a grain of salt, and inhibit scalp inflammation. So it's recommended to be used in products like hair care and lash growth, which I think is really cool. And like, especially to be getting that from CoverGirl, I'm like, okay, ahead of your time for once. Sorry. This is what the wand looks like. It's quite flat across the top and has a curve at the bottom, which is something that if you know me, you know I am normally obsessed with, but the actual bristles are very short. And I feel like I just tend to get better results when a wand is shaped like this with longer bristles. The formula's on the drier, thinner side, but I'm still able to build this up. I would say that it's more of like a feathery, fluttery look that I think is pretty for sure. I'll give it that. It has good separation and volume. It's just not as long as my favorite mascaras. With wear, this does flake on me a little bit, but the flakes are small enough where I'm like, it's not super noticeable. If I was obsessed with the way that this looked, I would keep it, but because I don't love the length, I have mascaras that definitely give me a longer, more lifted look. I won't keep this, but I do really love the idea of a drugstore mascara that reinforces lashes. Versed, I think, is it? Yes, the last new launch from them. This is their Day Lift. No, it's not. Their Day Lash Lifting and Defining Mascara. This is supposed to be a lightweight water-resistant formula that glides on easily for a soft, fluttery look. The wand is slightly tapered in the center with plastic bristles. This is definitely a little bit more wet than CoverGirl, but also on the thinner side, so I can't really build this up well. I definitely can't get much volume with this, so it's just more of a natural-looking mascara that overall I would say is decent. There's just not enough length or like really anything about the way that this looks that I'm obsessed with, especially when I compare it to my favorite thinner, more natural looking mascara, which is L'Oreal Lash Paradise Big Deal. That one has great length and just looks so flirty and feminine, and I feel like I don't get that same kind of effect with this. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that I picked this up in the shade brown, but I feel like on my lashes it just looks a bit more like a soft black. No issues with wear. I think that it held up fine, so if you do like the look of this mascara, then you'll appreciate that about it, but definitely not something that I'm keeping. The last mascara is the e.l.f. Incredi-Curl Mascara, which is supposed to be a volumizing and curling mascara that grips each lash to give you big, bold volume and extreme curl that lasts. The wand looks like this with soft bristles. This leans wet, but not overly so. However, it's definitely more of like a thicker, stiffer formula, so I find that it kind of like makes my lashes stick and clump together when I'm applying it. It does have really pretty curl, but I feel like there's just something kind of spidery about how this looks, so I'm not a huge fan of that. It did hold up well with wear, so again, if this kind of look is what you're going for, then that is something that's a win, but another that I'm not keeping. Okay, we have 2 more makeup products, which are brow products, and then I have 2 EOS products to talk about, and then we'll wrap this up. The first brow product is the NYX Blade and Shade Nano Brow Mechanical Pencil, which which is a 2-in-1 pencil. So this was designed to give you the look of nano bladed brows, where you can create fine hair-like strokes with the top edge of the pencil and then a fuller look with the wide flat side. They have this in 12 shades, and I have the shade Ash Blonde, which they describe as a cool toned blonde, but I have to say, compared to other blonde pencils that I've tried from the drugstore, this is not nearly as cool toned and ashy looking as so many others. And a lot of the other ones I feel like aren't even described as cool toned. It's just their blonde shade, but I put it on and I'm like, oh my God, it's gray. So the shade works well for me, and I actually did not know that this was meant to be used in those two different ways, like with the sharper edge and then the flat edge to fill it in, but I don't want to like shade and fill in my brows like that. I don't have a need for that. My brows are microbladed, so I feel like I just have a couple of spots that I need to fill in, and when I just use this in that way, it works so well. I am obsessed with how tiny it is. It really reminds me of my favorite brow pencil of all time from Kosas. That one is also super teeny tiny, and that is something that really helps to prevent my brows from looking super harsh or pencily or overly filled in. So that is a huge win for me from the drugstore, because if you have watched my new at the drugstore videos for the past several years, then you will know that this is a category I really struggle with. I feel like almost everything I try ends up being a flop for me, so this was a very pleasant surprise and officially my new favorite drugstore brow pencil. Last for makeup is the NYX Crazy Lift Brow Glue that I have seen everywhere. This is supposed to be a brow lift gel for brows so lifted it's crazy. So they describe it as a brow lamination gel with crazy strong hold, a crazy long-lasting formula, and crazy brow control and shaping. I am not a fan of this applicator. I feel like it just pushes up too much product and then makes it difficult to control the amount of product that I'm applying to my brows. Like, it just makes it way too easy to over apply. And then that combined with just these like short, stiff, plasticky bristles makes it easy for it to get flaky too. I can get it to work better if I wipe a lot of the excess product off with my finger, but then I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of this. But it does really create that laminated look and keeps my brows lifted more than a lot of other gels I've tried, especially from the drugstore. So it performs for sure, but the issue with the applicator just doesn't make it worth it for me to keep. Okay, I wanted to talk about two body care products from EOS really quick. The first I did talk about in my best of drugstore body care video. It is the EOS body wash, but I hadn't talked about these in a new at the drugstore yet, so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned them for those of you that have not seen that, which I'll list below. So I picked up two of the scents to try, thinking that I was going to prefer vanilla cashmere, and it does smell, I mean, you guys know I love a gourmand scent, but I'm like, am I going crazy or does it not smell the exact same as the lotion? I feel like the lotion is just, like, am I making this up? I feel like the lotion is just a little bit less intense in the sweetness. It's like a little softer while still definitely being strong. No, I'm not going crazy, I swear. It's just not exactly the same. And while I like it, I don't love this more in a shower gel than I do my other current favorite gourmand body washes. The one that I am obsessed with is Fresh and Cozy. I feel like I have preferences for different fragrances depending on the way in which I'm using that product. And there's something about a cozy scent like this when I'm using it in the shower to wash my body that I just love. The fragrance notes are morning light, dewy cassis, and sheer musk, and it just comes together perfectly. It really is fresh and cozy. That's the best way to describe it. Ingredient highlights in this are cocoa seed butter, shea oil, and sunflower seed oil, and the texture of this is like a moderately thick pearlescent gel that feels just like plush to use. I really enjoy the entire experience of using this as a body wash, from the texture, the feel, the way my skin feels after, the smell. I'm excited to see what other fragrances they continue to come out with in this, because I will definitely purchase more. But the more initially exciting of the two launches, at least for me, was the EOS body lotion in their new fragrance, Creme de Pistachio. So this has the exact same formula and ingredient highlights as their other body lotions. So shea butter, shea oil, petrolatum. The reason I bought this is because Creme de Pistachio sounded freaking perfect. So this is described as a toasted pistachio, decadent coffee, and warm woods fragrance that comes together in a rich, cozy scent that feels like creamy pistachio gelato, elevated, indulgent, and impossible to resist. It does smell really good. I really like the smell. I think it is just a bit more woodsy than I was expecting. And like, on the one hand, I can appreciate that it's not overly sweet to the point of being like sickly sweet. But yeah, I just don't think it was like exactly what I was expecting, especially, and probably mostly because I feel like everybody was saying it was an identical dupe to the Sol de Janeiro fragrance. That's why I brought this over. It's not at all. I'm like, I don't even really understand. So if you were seeing that all over TikTok like I was and you were hoping that this would just be like the EOS lotion version of Sol de Janeiro, it's definitely not. This is more woodsy for sure. Sol de Janeiro is sweeter, a little more tropical, and again, just like really doesn't smell like that to me at all. So it smells nice, but not my new favorite scent from Sol de Janeiro. My favorite in the body lotion is still Strawberry Milkshake by a landslide. That is a wrap on this new at the drugstore. If you enjoyed this, found it helpful, would like to see more like this from me, you know the drill. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell, send my channel to a friend. Thank you so much for your support in doing those things. It really does mean so much to me and editor Emily, because as I'm sure you can imagine, these videos are quite tedious to prepare for and to edit and to film. Here I am hours later. So thank you so much for those things. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. Thank you for watching my videos, and make sure to stay tuned for my next one that will be up a week from today. But until then, I hope you have a great week.